Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Good Boxing Podcast with your host, Josh Size. And I'm going to jump right into this episode. Finally, this weekend, we have Canelo Alvarez taking on Caleb Sweet Plant. And honestly, this is going to be a fantastic fight. And I thought I would give you my breakdown and prediction. Caleb Plant is a plus 650 for the odds. That means if you put up $100, you win $650 in return. So he is a big underdog against Canelo Alvarez. And that's exactly why in this fight, I'm going to give you reasons why Caleb Plant is going to beat Canelo Alvarez. I'm going to come out and say my prediction right off the jump. I think Caleb Plant is going to outbox Canelo Alvarez and shock the world this Saturday. I'm not going to wait till the end and preface this whole thing. I'll give you my reasoning right now. Canelo Alvarez, hands down, is pound for pound number one boxer in the world. I don't think Terrence Crawford is busy enough. I don't think Inoue has the resume that Canelo Alvarez does. The only person you could arguably say is number one is Usyk. I think you can make that argument. I mean, he literally was undisputed cruiserweight champion, then moved up and beat one of the top three heavyweights in the division and now has 3 belts. I mean, he literally has the same amount of belts as Canelo Alvarez. However, Usyk, a lot of people feel like the cruiserweight division possibly is a little diluted, but he beat Anthony Joshua, so he moved up. Clearly, the guy is amazing. But Canelo Alvarez, fantastic resume. You know, he's been in there with the best of the best. He's cleaning up the 168-pound division. I just feel in this fight, he's fighting someone that stylistically, Canelo Alvarez has not addressed this issue. I feel like Canelo struggles with people that move. Daniel Jacobs showed that. Again, rewatch that fight. Daniel Jacobs, when he finally got confidence and kind of touched Canelo up, did very well. I feel like he loaded up a little bit. Maybe he didn't do enough. But guys like Daniel Jacobs, guys like Sergey Kovalev, guys like Callum Smith aren't the riddle that Caleb Plant is. Caleb Plant is a slick, athletic boxer that's going to use his jab and really know what his identity is. In order to give Canelo problems, you cannot go out there and try to out-machismo Canelo Alvarez. You can't go out there and walk him down. You can't get tricky and beat him with flash like Billy Joe Saunders tried to. Billy Joe Saunders did show that, hey, Canelo's human. He caught him with a couple of hooks. He caught him with a couple of good jabs. And yes, Billy Joe is a southpaw, but the punches he landed, believe it or not, were from the righty position when he switched. Physically, Caleb Plant is the fastest fighter since Floyd Mayweather. Canelo is going to fight. Billy Joe Saunders, glorified 160-pound fighter. I'm not going to sit here and take away from Billy Joe because he fought great, broke his eye socket, and showed a great account for himself. And kudos to Billy Joe. But in his 3 fights at 168 pounds, let's be honest. He fought against Coceres, who dropped Edgar Berlanga. He struggled, had to knock him out to get a win. Then he fought Martin Murray, who was years beyond his prime. And then he fought Canelo Alvarez. Caleb Plant has fought at 168 pounds and has done it most of his career. He started at 160, was kind of a hybrid between 160 and 168, and decided to champion at 168. He's been in there with guys much bigger than him, guys that potentially, I mean, say what you want about Uzcategui, but Uzcategui, pound for pound, I think hits just as hard as Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez is sharper. I think he has more speed. But in terms of pure punch, I can't see Canelo being that much of a puncher over Uzcategui. And now that we know Uzcategui used PEDs, he probably was using against Caleb Plant. And now maybe that win got boosted a little bit. The main reason why I'm going to say that Caleb Plant is going to beat Canelo is that jab. Honestly, the body stick is going to be working. I think Caleb Plant doesn't go out there to try to knock you out. So look, he's going to be feinting. I think he's going to be reaching out and really just trying to score. I feel like Caleb Plant is going to be moving left to right. And when I say movers, I feel like people think you have to run in order to box. No, walk around the ring, walk left to right, pivot out, use your movement, use your counterpunching ability, and punch in spots where you're not trying to land. I feel like the problem and the reason why Canelo has so many highlight reels is people get very discouraged when they start missing. You're trying to hit Canelo in the head. You're not really touching his body with the body jab. And when you miss the jab, you don't always have to commit. Canelo can make you miss, but you have to put yourself in a position where when you miss, you're not in danger. Caleb Plant can miss a jab, not overly commit and back out and stay at range. Caleb Plant has a 5 to 4 inch reach advantage in terms of length. You add speed and you add that shoulder roll. He's going to give Canelo a lot of issues. Now, personally, I don't like going into a fight where, if you look at Canelo's attributes, great head movement, 100%, walks people down, has knockout power, has great body punching. Yes, but Caleb Plant also has a style that can neutralize body punches. I mean, the shoulder roll defense literally addresses the hardest part. If your hands are up against Canelo, you have to move up and down. If you're here and you have the length and you have the reach advantage, you can hedge your body, keep your hands where they are, and neutralize a lot of what a Canelo does. Is it hard? Yes, 1,000%. But the reason why I think Caleb Plant can actually pull it off is because Caleb Plant is not a power puncher. I feel like Caleb Plant's going to eat, get his little shots in, walk around, and do it for 12 rounds. And I think if Canelo doesn't start off fast, if Canelo doesn't go out there and put his foot on the gas and try to put his foot on Caleb's neck, where if you're in a deficit 4 or 5 rounds, people talk about levels and all the things that they talk about, right? When it comes to Caleb Plant, oh, he's never been in there with so-and-so or someone like Canelo. Yeah, no one has been in there with Canelo until they fight Canelo. And the one person that went in there at 36 years old and embarrassed the 21-year-old Canelo was Floyd Mayweather. I'll tell you one thing, Canelo Alvarez is fighting someone who's in the prime of their life, younger, faster, and arguably, if you talk about physicality, Caleb Plant's a strong, athletic guy. He's been at 168 pounds his entire career. He was able to push off Uzcategui, who was way bigger than Canelo. He was able to truthfully just campaign at 168 pounds. Size-wise, Caleb Plant can hold Canelo. Caleb Plant can push Canelo. Billy Joe was 106. He was a 168 pounder who moved up to 168 for a check. Like, let's be honest. They were trying to set that fight up. He wanted to get the belt. He beat Caceres by the skin of his teeth. And then Canelo got the belt. So when you look at Canelo's last 4 opponents, he looked great. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you, but they weren't Caleb Plant. They weren't. If you really look at what he's done, Caleb Plant, yes, you can say he hasn't fought the best people in the world, but Tio didn't fight somebody like Loma before he fought Loma. At the end of the day, when you're a special fighter, you have special skills. We get to see the best version of Caleb Plant. The problem with Caleb Plant is he falls asleep. He's in with lesser opposition. He takes his foot off the gas, loses focus, kind of gets a little too fancy. Against Canelo, he is going to be on his P's and Q's, right? He's working with Andre Ward, who arguably his coach came up with the best game plan to beat Canelo, and that was with Amir Khan. Amir Khan got knocked out, but again, Amir Khan was physically outmatched by Canelo. He didn't have the same foot speed that Caleb Plant has. He didn't have the reach advantage, right? Caleb Plant, for the weight, is fast. Caleb Plant has the shoulder roll defense. He has a defensive mindset. Caleb Plant could move for 12 rounds. That's his temperament. Khan likes to throw combinations. He's fast, but he's not a defensive oriented fighter. He likes to throw fast combinations, same timing, same everything. That was his flaw. That's how that's how Garcia hit him. Danny Garcia knocked him out with that hook. That's how a lot of other people knocked him out, because Khan throws punches in the same speed. Caleb Plant can change cadence. He can change rhythms. He can walk. He can sit in, bend, push, and he could counter Canelo. I feel like the body jab is going to take a lot away from Canelo. He's going to walk down. But when you're stabbing someone to the body, you can throw that up jab, you can throw that uppercut, and then you could even throw a body shot yourself, the left hook to the body. If Caleb Plant can take away Canelo's right hand and only focus on his hook, I feel like he makes this a very easy fight for himself. Easy tactically. again, you have to execute. It's going to be daunting. Canelo is going to be coming full force to try to put his foot on his neck. But Canelo cannot, and I repeat, cannot do what Canelo does sometimes, where he kind of takes it slow, tries to kind of prod his way and break him down, because he is not going to break down Caleb Plant. I think that's a mistake. And truthfully, I hope he comes out and tries to get some early rounds and tries to make Caleb Plant make some mistakes to kind of push the pace, because Caleb Plant, I'm telling you, is not going to engage. He's going to score. He's going to get what he has to get, and then he's going to get out. And that's what I see. I see Caleb Plant defeating Canelo Alvarez. I think Canelo still struggles with movers. I think Virgil Hunter said it the best. Canelo can hit someone that is stationary. If you're constantly moving, constantly offsetting him, doesn't have to be running. I'm not saying running, because if you run, you're going to tire yourself out. But I think what Caleb Plant can do is reverse the pressure. People talk about the mental anguish that Canelo does when he's walking you down. Try beating a whole 6-0 against a masterful boxer. Think about all the pressure that Floyd Mayweather puts people in when they're in a deficit. Think about all the people that are master boxers. Andre Ward, you're down. Shit, I'm down 6-7 rounds. What do I do? And then before you know it, the bell rings, you're down 9-3 or 10-2. Look what happened to Lomachenko. He thought Teofimo was going to get drowned, was going to drown in deep waters. Guess what? Some people know how to swim. Some people know how to swim for a long time. And I think Caleb Plant has never been pushed, but I think when you think about the mental anguish, oh yeah, you know, Canelo's going to put mental anguish on Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant's been through some of the worst shit ever, as a parent, as a husband, as a father. Right? He's as a son, rather. I did say parent and father. He lost his daughter. He lost his mother. I don't think there's a moment that Caleb Plant's not going to be prepared for mentally. If he's still standing, if he's still pushing, he didn't quit boxing, didn't go into a hole and kill himself, or kind of just call it quits, shows a lot about Caleb Plant. So I know people keep talking about the mental anguish. Oh, he's getting hit, but he's been boxing his whole life. You're talking about a kid that has been doing this forever, distinguished amateur career. And at 168 pounds, no one's pushed him. And sure, he hasn't had the best resume, but he's done enough. And I think this is going to be his coming out party. I'm not taking anything away. I'm not taking anything away from Canelo. Canelo Alvarez is a fantastic champion and is still a legend, in my opinion, for the Mexican community and in boxing in general because of what he's done. Being a pound for pound number one in any era warrants you accolades. But I just think in this fight, Caleb Plant's going to surprise him. I think Canelo is going to find himself in a deficit. I'm going to just sit here and say Caleb Plant's going to win a decision. I don't know if they'll give him one because you know how that goes. But honestly, I'm not going to be one of those conspiracy theorists. I think Caleb Plant's just going to outbox him, and it's nothing against Canelo. I just feel at 168 pounds, he hasn't really fought anyone that's a legitimate 168-pound fighter that's in his prime, that moves well, and has boxing skills like Caleb Plant. Callum Smith, young guy, strong guy, horrible style for Canelo. You're sitting against the ropes against a shorter fighter. You're the bigger guy. You didn't establish a jab. You're going to lose. Kovalev, come on, he was damaged goods and still had success moving around with that little pity pat jab and what he was trying to do. Buddy McGirt set the tone for the style and what to do, and I feel like Caleb Plant can pull it off. That's my prediction. Canelo, yes, the head movement. Okay, fine. Go to his body. Don't worry about landing. Keep moving. Canelo can't move his head and chase you around. He has to plant, pun intended, and Plant can move around, keep resetting Canelo, and kind of hinder the output. The body work, shoulder roll style, he can block his body. Canelo tries to go over the top. Caleb Plant is too tall. He can dip back. Canelo has to jump up and reach over, and he's going to potentially leave himself open for a counter. Remember, Canelo's 5'7". Uzcategui, yeah, he hit him with right hands, but Uzcategui's 6'3". Caleb Plant 6'1". There's a big height advantage for Caleb Plant and reach advantage, so he's going to be in good spots position-wise. So in this fight, I just feel Caleb Plant's going to pull it off, and that's my prediction. Plus 650, in my opinion, easy money. So there you go.